After discovering I had an incurable illness, I purchased a burial plot for myself. On my final day, I donned a light blue dress, hoping to see my son one last time. But when he saw me, his face twisted with disdain. "Mom, you look awful. Why are you wearing the same dress as Aunt Claire?" The man I loved for 10 years held our son and sneered. "Sophia, what are you trying to prove? Wearing the same dress as someone else, trying to imitate her and failing miserably, it's pathetic." They had forgotten it was a gift from them. That night, I lay quietly in my coffin at the cemetery, waiting for the end. As midnight struck, I realized how fitting it was that I passed on my father's death anniversary. My husband and son came to pay respects to my father, unaware that the unmarked grave next to his was mine. Later, when they found out, my husband broke down, crying and repeatedly professing his love for me at my grave. Chapter 1. That day when I met my son, I wasn't feeling well. I applied a thick layer of makeup but still couldn't hide my haggard appearance. I put on the dress, looked at myself in the mirror, and forced a smile. Though it was the smallest size, it still felt loose on me. Nearing the end, I wanted to look beautiful, not frighten my son. I walked to Claire's house. Through the wall, I heard my son's praise. "Aunt Claire, you look so beautiful today, like an angel from heaven. No, even more beautiful than an angel." Even my usually aloof husband, Ethan, joked. "Seems my taste in picking out dresses is pretty good." I opened the door at an inopportune moment, breaking the happy scene. Their smiles froze. I thought my son would run into my arms after not seeing me for so long. Instead, he looked at me with disgust. "Mom, why are you wearing the same dress as Aunt Claire? But you look so ugly, so scary." He hid behind Ethan, who picked him up, his eyes filled with undisguised contempt. "Sophia, what are you doing? You're scaring our son. Look at you, so thin. Anyone would think we're starving you. Can't you eat more? And take off that dress. Trying to imitate someone else and failing, it's pathetic." I must have looked terrible. The pain made me break into a cold sweat, smudging my makeup. My eyes were sunken, my face pale, looking like a skeleton. In contrast, Claire, in the same light blue dress, looked radiant. I laughed bitterly at myself for wearing this dress, a gift from Ethan when we first met. I cherished it for years, never wearing it until now, wanting to die looking beautiful. But even in my final moments, my husband and son still found me repulsive. Claire, in a sweet tone, looked at Ethan. "Ethan, stop it. Don't argue in front of the child, it's not good. Sophia, I have other pretty dresses in my room. Let me pick one for you and help you with your makeup." I shook my head, indicating I didn't need it, and prepared to leave. I had seen my son, and there was nothing left for me. I didn't know why Ethan got angry again, grabbing my wrist painfully. "Sophia, do you even care about our son? You're not fit to be a mother. No wonder he dislikes you." I forced a bitter smile. Did he think I didn't want to care for our son? After he grew older, Ethan took him away, saying I would be a bad influence. I tried to fight it, but it was useless. To the Ethan family, letting me into their home was already a great favor. Ethan never treated me as a wife. If it weren't for my father's schemes, I wouldn't have ended up pregnant and married into the Ethan family. Ethan resented me and my father. He always said we were like the farmer and the snake. As I was nearing death, I looked at the man I loved for 10 years and quietly said, "Ethan, let's get a divorce." Chapter 2. Ethan released my hand, stunned. He looked at me incredulously, searching my face for any sign of deceit. There was none. It was as simple and calm as asking what to eat today. He was furious, shouting, "Sophia, how dare you mention divorce? You forced me to marry you, and now you want a divorce? What am I to you? Have you thought about our son?" Ethan was angry again. Whenever he was angry, he would bring up past events to humiliate me. But what puzzled me was, if he didn't love me, why did he marry me? And if he didn't love me, why not divorce me? "Ethan, I'm serious this time. After the divorce, I don't want any of your assets. I don't want our son either. I didn't lower my voice, so my son clearly heard me. He immediately started crying. I don't want mom anymore. I want Aunt Claire to be my mom. I don't want mom anymore. Ethan held our son, glaring at me angrily. Sophia, do you have to say that in front of the child? Seeing my son cry felt like a knife in my heart. I reached out to hold him, but something suddenly fell from my nose. Seeing the 2 drops of red on my chest, I quickly turned away, wiping the blood. I was in the late stages of my illness, and my blood clotting ability was nearly gone. Holding my nose, feeling weak, I left. Behind me, Ethan and Claire continued to comfort our son. Children's emotions come and go quickly. Soon, laughter filled the air again. My eyes reddened, and my heart ached. I wanted to hold my son one more time and tell him I didn't abandon him. I just had to go far away and couldn't take him with me. Ethan, once I'm gone, you won't have to despise me anymore. Take care of our son. After leaving, I returned to the cemetery and lay in the coffin I had prepared. I had asked the cemetery caretaker to bury me when I passed. Initially, the caretaker advised me not to do such a thing, saying it was unheard of to bury someone alive. I explained my illness to him and recorded a video, signing a statement that I was doing this voluntarily. It was so quiet around me. Next to me was my father's grave. It felt like I was lying in his arms. Dad, I miss you. I'm sorry I failed to live up to your expectations, but I can't hold on any longer. I could feel my life slipping away. Perhaps nearing death, my life flashed before my eyes like a movie. I remembered stepping into the Ethan family home for the first time. Ethan's mother held my hand and introduced Ethan. Sophia, this is your home now. Ethan is my son, and he will be like a brother to you. Unlike now, teenage Ethan's eyes sparkled when he looked at me and smiled. He was so brilliant and always the center of attention, while I was so ordinary. Everyone at school knew that Ethan favored me because my father had saved his mother's life. Back then, he was truly kind to me, and I was his shadow, following him everywhere. But Claire's appearance changed everything. She inexplicably took my place, and Ethan allowed it. I only felt a bit bitter, not thinking much. I continued to be his shadow, but he grew colder towards me. Until Claire's friend cornered me in the bathroom and said, Sophia, can't you have some shame? Ethan is dating Claire now, and you're still clinging to him like a leech. It's disgusting, just like your father, using favors to manipulate others. I don't believe he didn't know who he was saving when he saved Ethan's mother. From that day, I distanced myself from Ethan. Later, through a series of accidents, Ethan and I got married, separating him from Claire. Now that I'm about to die, it's time to give Claire her place back. Looking back, all I see are Ethan's eyes full of disdain and his cold words. Chapter 3. The midnight bell tolled. I looked at my transparent body and realized I was already gone. I died on my father's death anniversary. I didn't know why I hadn't moved on but continued to follow Ethan. After putting our son to bed, Ethan left the room. Claire, in a seductive nightgown, handed him a glass of wine, looking at him with deep affection. Ethan, being with Sophia was a mistake. Now that she wants a divorce, why not take this chance to free yourself? If that incident hadn't happened, I would have married you. Maybe I could have been our son's real mother. Ethan's face darkened, recalling how I was drugged to climb into his bed. Claire saw his silence and leaned in to kiss him. Instinctively, Ethan turned away, avoiding her kiss. I didn't understand why he evaded her. Claire's face stiffened, feeling humiliated, tears welling up. Ethan gently comforted her. I haven't divorced yet. It wouldn't be fair to you. Give me some time. Once I divorce Sophia, I'll give you an answer. Claire immediately smiled through her tears. Really? You'll divorce her? Not wanting to disappoint her, Ethan nodded. Just then, his phone rang. It was his mother, one of the few who truly cared about me. She had been receiving treatment abroad for years. Ethan frowned as he answered. Tomorrow is Sophia's father's death anniversary. Go early and see if you need any help. And stop arguing with Sophia. She's had a tough life. It's not her fault for what happened. Treat her better." He responded coldly, promising to go. But I knew he hadn't gone once in all these years. It was always me alone. He hated me and everyone related to me. I thought he wouldn't go this time either, but the next morning, he took our son to the cemetery. At my father's grave, we met an old friend, my best friend Lily and her husband Jack. They were setting up offerings for my father, with white roses, my favorite, already placed at my grave. I wanted to hug Lily and comfort her about the baby she was carrying, but my spirit passed through her. I had asked Jack not to tell Lily about my illness, but he did. Lily had wanted to confront Ethan several times, but I stopped her. Now, seeing Ethan, she picked up a rock and threw it at him. "How dare you show your face here?" Ethan dodged, looking at Lily with a mix of annoyance and patience. "I won't argue with a pregnant woman. Where's Sophia? Today is her father's anniversary. Where is she?" Hearing my name, Lily's eyes reddened, glaring at Ethan. "She's dead." Chapter 4. Ethan froze, his face darkening. "Sophia said she wanted a divorce yesterday. How could she be dead? She's avoiding me? No need for such an excuse, it's childish." Lily laughed coldly. "She's dead. If you want to see her, go to the other side. How about that, Mr. Ethan?" "Lily, you..." Ethan was visibly angry, his voice deepening. "Lily, tell Sophia I'm giving her one more chance. 3 days from now, there's a company celebration. Tell her to dress up and not embarrass me like she did last time or else." He was dismissive, thinking this was a ploy to win him back. He believed I would show up, as I had countless times to apologize. "But not this time, Ethan. Never again." Lily, furious, cursed him. "Ethan, you scumbag. You're the worst." Jack tried to comfort her, worried about her pregnancy. But she was too agitated and the stress caused early contractions. Jack hurriedly took her away, cursing Ethan as they left. I hoped Lily and her baby would be safe. Ethan didn't want to stay. He called for our son, but he was busy destroying the flowers at my grave. Ethan, finding it disrespectful, stopped him. He couldn't understand why our usually well-behaved son would act this way. Gently cleaning his hands, Ethan asked, "Why did you do that?" Our son, with a look of disgust, replied, "These are Mom's favorite flowers, ugly like her." Ethan was taken aback, noticing the new unmarked grave next to his father-in-law's. The white roses, my favorite, scattered around. He knew I hated red flowers because of a traumatic childhood memory involving a car accident. Staring at the flowers, Ethan's mind wandered. His phone rang again. "Ethan, are you done? If you're busy, I can pick up our son. I got him his favorite toy." "I'm done. I'll bring him over, it's too hot for you to come." Our son, hearing this, eagerly pulled Ethan's hand to leave. Ethan, infected by his excitement, couldn't help but smile. Chapter 5. At Claire's house, our son eagerly opened his new toy. Ethan and Claire repeatedly urged him to eat, but he was too engrossed in his toy. Ethan shook his head, letting him be. "You're spoiling him. He'll be ruined." Ethan's words were affectionate, his expression betraying his fondness for them. Claire, serving soup, playfully rolled her eyes, but her smile was warm. "You spoil him too. Did you see Sophia today? How did it go?" Ethan's smile vanished at my name, his brow furrowed. "Don't mention her. It makes me angry. I didn't see her. She pretends to be so filial, but she didn't even show up for her father's anniversary. Heartless." I bitterly smiled. "Ethan, it's not that I didn't want to go. I'm already gone, lying beside my father. I thought passing away would end my suffering, but seeing my husband and son happy with Claire, full of disdain for me, I couldn't help but cry." That night, Ethan didn't stay at Claire's but returned to our home. He hadn't been there in a long time, always staying elsewhere. This time, for some reason, he came back. Since my illness, I had dismissed the servants, often being alone in the large house. Ethan frowned at the darkness, inputting the code to unlock the door and turning on all the lights. He walked through the house, noticing it had been empty for a long time. All my belongings were gone. The house had no trace of me. Ethan had never treated me as family. We had no wedding photos, not even a family photo with our son. Ethan pulled at his tie, feeling inexplicably agitated. He took out his phone, wanting to call me, but didn't dial. He couldn't bring himself to lower his pride. Finally, he drove off, the car's roar echoing his anger. For 2 days, Ethan's temper made everyone at work walk on eggshells. On the 3rd day, he seemed excited, like he was expecting something. He brought Claire and our son to the event early. Amid the compliments, he was distracted, checking his phone repeatedly. He had called me many times, but my phone was off. His unease grew. Staring at the white roses on the table, he couldn't shake the image of the lonely grave and scattered petals. Lily's words echoed in his mind. No, it can't be. Chapter 6. Driven by an inexplicable force, Ethan left the event, ignoring Claire and our son's calls. I followed him to the cemetery. He went straight to my grave. The caretaker approached, sighing. This girl bought this plot a week ago. That night, she was covered in blood, lying in the coffin, asking me to bury her when she was gone. She said she was alone, with no one to care for her. I felt sorry for her, poor child. Ethan's mind went blank, his body trembling. Blue dress? Terminal illness? He remembered seeing me in that dress, emaciated. A terrifying thought consumed him. I was gone. But he quickly dismissed it as a coincidence. Dazed, he left and returned to the event. His mind was chaotic, the noise around him unbearable. He couldn't hear others, only seeing their moving lips. Our son clung to his hand, crying for me. Daddy, I want mommy. I'm hungry. I want mommy's cooking. Can you call her to come back? Ethan, seeing our son's tears, looked at him with a complex expression. I was shocked. This was the first time our son cried for me. But it was too late. I was already gone. Reaching out to hold him was useless. Ethan, seeming to realize something, frantically called Lily. Lily, is Sophia with you? Tell her to stop this nonsense and come back. I forgive her. Just tell her to come back. Lily laughed coldly. Are you deaf? Ethan, I'll say it one last time. Sophia is gone. She died alone in her coffin. Even she didn't tell. No, it can't be. I won't believe it until I see her body. She's hiding, conspiring with you to deceive me. Wait till I dig up that empty grave. She's not in there. Ethan, shaking his head, hung up and left. Claire, holding our son, tried to stop him, but he was beyond reasoning. He returned to my grave, shovel in hand, ready to dig. Fortunately, Lily and Jack arrived in time. Lily slapped him hard. Ethan, you're insane. Sophia is gone. Can't you leave her in peace? Haven't you hurt her enough? She threw my terminal illness report at him. 3 months ago, Sophia was diagnosed with a terminal illness. Here's her report. If you don't believe it, check with the hospital. Ethan, terrified, his hands trembling, held the report like it weighed a ton. His legs gave way, and he collapsed, his hands gripping the ground, his forehead hitting the dirt, a desperate, muffled cry escaping his lips. Rain began to fall, but Ethan didn't move. His eyes red, tears mingling with the rain, he frantically dug at the grave, his fingers bleeding, yet he felt no pain. Sophia, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please come back. Don't leave me. You're my wife. Why didn't you tell me you were sick? Chapter 7. Lily looked at him with a cold expression, mocking. Now you acknowledge she was your wife? Only after her death do you realize she was sick. What's the point of regretting now? Where were you when she needed you? Did you ever care for her all these years? I'm truly sad for Sophia. Hearing Lily's words, Ethan became even more distraught. I never thought she'd get so ill. I never imagined she'd pass away. I loved Sophia. I always thought she didn't love me. It was my mistake. I should have told her sooner. I always believed she had feelings for someone else. I misunderstood her deeply. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you, Sophia. Please don't leave me. Listening to Ethan's confession, I felt numb. Back then, Ethan constantly favored Claire and targeted me. He took my speech manuscript, my scholarship opportunity, and gave them all to Claire. That same year, my father fell ill. I cried on his shoulder, lamenting the unfairness of life, Ethan's attitude towards me, and the impending loss of my only relative. At that time, I didn't know that my tears were deadly weapons in my father's heart. A man who had been honest all his life schemed to send me to Ethan's bed. He was afraid his precious daughter would be bullied after his death, and even more afraid that if Ethan married Claire, I would have no place in their family, so he planned everything. On the eve of Ethan's engagement to Claire, I ended up with Ethan. The next day, he grabbed my neck and demanded to know why I did it, accusing me of being shameless. Ethan's mother arrived and rescued me, holding me tenderly. In her eyes, Ethan had ruined my innocence, so he had to take responsibility. She didn't care if Ethan liked me. She just wanted to fulfill my father's dying wish to take care of me. It was then that I learned my father had died. In one night, I lost everything. Ethan despised me, and my father left me. Later, I became pregnant. As my belly grew, Ethan married me out of obligation, but there was no ceremony or celebration, just a simple, rushed affair. Ethan only ever brought me sorrow. Over the years, he mistreated me, misunderstood me, hated me, leaving me to cry alone through the night. In this broken marriage, I tried hard to keep the family together, to give our son, David, a complete home. But I never succeeded, even until my death. Ethan later took our son back to the house I lived in, neglecting food and drink, lost in thought, ignoring our son. David, timidly watching Ethan, remembered how Claire had rushed over with him right after Ethan had gone to the cemetery. David had been scared, watching his father crazily dig the grave in the rain. For days, he hadn't dared speak to him. The little boy cautiously approached Ethan, tugging at his sleeve. "Daddy, where did Mommy go? I'm hungry and want Mommy's food. Can you call her to come back?" Hearing David ask for me, Ethan snapped back to reality, staring at him blankly, then tears streamed down his face. "Your mommy is gone, David. You don't have a mommy anymore. Didn't you dislike her? Now you can find someone else to be your mommy." Upon learning he had no mother, David broke down, crying and rolling on the ground, screaming for me. "You're lying. Mommy wouldn't leave me. Mommy said she loves me the most." Chapter 8. It was then he realized his beloved mother was truly gone, making him a child without a mother. When I gave birth to him, I went through both natural labor and a C-section, enduring the pain twice to welcome this boy, who shared my blood. He had some oxygen deprivation at birth and was sent to the observation room for 7 days. Despite my pain, I checked on him through the glass every day. After discharge, I carefully took care of him. As a baby, he clung to me, stretching his chubby arms for a hug, calling out in a sweet voice for me to hold him. He would tell me I was his favorite person. For years, I endured everything for his sake. But as he grew older, he became more aware. He seemed to understand he was the little master of the Ethan family, born into privilege, never lacking anything. Everyone dotted on him. Except for me. I restricted his screen time, and I educated him on not being picky with food. He gradually resented my strictness. After Ethan started taking him to the amusement park with Claire, that was the first time he said he hated me, didn't want me as his mom, and wanted Claire instead. Hearing David's cries, Claire rushed over, cradling him and soothing him. "David, don't cry. Aunt Claire bought you toys and your favorite snacks. How about you come downstairs with Aunt Claire? I want Mommy. David, I'll be your mommy from now on, okay? No, I want my real mommy. I don't want you as my mommy. You don't love me. You lied, saying if I spoke badly about Mommy, you'd buy me toys and treats. I did, but now I have no mommy. You just want to have a little brother to replace me. I heard what you said that day. Claire tried to cover his mouth, but it was too late. David had overheard Claire's phone call that day. Get me the medication to help me conceive quickly. Sophia is gone, and I need to have my own child now. Only then will Ethan marry me. I'll still treat Sophia's son well, spoil him, and make him a failure. That way, Ethan's wealth will be ours. Claire tried to deny it, but it was futile. David had recorded the conversation on his smartwatch. Ethan, in disbelief, grabbed Claire by the throat, nearly strangling her. Why did you do this? Claire, coughing violently, tears streaming down. Ethan, this is karma. You promised to divorce Sophia and marry me, but you kept stringing me along, making me think you loved me. Yet you tell me you love Sophia. Why? Ethan, she's gone. Who are you pretending to be so devoted to? You said you loved her, but you believed me when I said I saw her with another man. I told you David might not be your biological son, and you still didn't trust Sophia, doing a paternity test. I said she was dating another man while you were away, and you believed it. You say you love her, but you never trusted her or asked her the truth. You betrayed both of us. Ethan, clutching his head, tears in his eyes full of regret, cried. Sophia, what have I done to you all these years? His voice, choked with remorse. Ethan went mad, crying and laughing, calling my name into the air. At that moment, I felt a release, my body becoming increasingly transparent. I looked at Ethan and softly said, in the next life, let's not meet again. Ethan seemed to hear me, looking towards where I disappeared, crying bitterly. If life were only as it was at first sight, why let the autumn wind bring sorrow? Chapter 9. Epilogue. They say he has a mental illness, or rather, lovesickness. Lately, I often dream of Sophia. Sometimes she smiles, calling my name, asking if we could walk home together after school. Sometimes she looks at me with red eyes, asking why I abandoned her. Sometimes she wears that light blue dress, looking coldly at me, asking for a divorce. My head throbs, I take a sleeping pill. Only medication lets me see Sophia in my dreams. In my dreams, her helpless tears suffocate me. What I once thought were her schemes now seem like silent cries for help. Her tears, like heavy drops, crush my heart. I wake up in the dark, looking at the room Sophia used to sleep in. I open a drawer, take out a painkiller, and swallow it. These were Sophia's painkillers. She must have been in so much pain. The bedside table is filled with empty bottles. But they don't help. Why does my heart still ache after taking them? Returning from the cemetery, I pulled open a drawer, and loose screws let dozens of pill bottles spill out. There were not only painkillers but also antidepressants. I realized Sophia had been ill for a long time. The signs were there, but I never noticed. I wasn't a good husband. When my mother heard of Sophia's passing, she rushed back from abroad. As soon as she entered, she hit me with her cane, saying she let Sophia down and failed to uphold her father's trust. This is Sophia's house. Get out. You don't belong here. Seeing my state, she was furious. She was alive and you didn't treat her well. Now she's gone and you're like this, not even caring for your child. My mother seemed to see through my suicidal thoughts, mocking. Ethan, Sophia wouldn't want to see you, not even in death. I completely lost it and was admitted to a mental hospital for treatment. I started taking pills like Sophia did. Still, I couldn't sleep. For a time, I didn't see Sophia in my dreams. I became anxious, seeking help from doctors for hypnosis. Finally, I dreamt of her again. This was young Sophia, meeting me for the first time, looking timid with eyes like a fawn. I realized I had liked her since then. She had a soft, submissive personality. Everyone wanted to bully her. Every time she was picked on, she'd look at me with tearful eyes like a little rabbit. I let her follow me around so people knew she was mine. I didn't understand why her father disliked me. He repeatedly told me to stay away from Sophia, saying we were from different worlds and he didn't want her hurt. How could I hurt her? I'd protect her forever. Later, my parents divorced. My father told me my mother had never loved him, that she loved Sophia's father. He warned me not to fall for the daughter of a homewrecker. That morning, I woke to find Sophia beside me. I was both pleased and angry. I grabbed her neck, calling her a tramp like her father, seducing others. Sophia cried, saying it wasn't true. She was innocent, but I didn't believe her. My father's divorce was because he had a mistress. When exposed, he tarnished my mother's reputation out of spite. I believed others again and again, hurting the person closest to me. I often wanted to give up and end it all, but Lily's words stopped me. People like me deserve to live in regret and suffer to atone, sparing us from worse fate in the afterlife. I must live well and atone. I found myself forgetting people and events. A boy, resembling me, said he was my son and came to visit. I vaguely remembered having a son. How could he be so grown when he was just 5? I called him a liar, but he looked at me with tearful eyes. He pushed me into the sunlight. Against the light, I could only see his silhouette. He said, "I'm the one who pushed my mom away. If I hadn't said or done those hurtful things, maybe I'd still have a mom and dad." The light stung my eyes, causing tears to fall.